Hi everyone, I'm Aiden and welcome to another lifting program review. In this video, I'm going to be covering nSuns. Check out the link in the description to learn more about it, and leave a comment down below if you have a program that you want me to review. So, nSuns is the third lifting program that I ever ran. It's a program that is focused on improving your strength, so I switched to this when I felt like my main lifts were stalling. I ran this program during a cut, and I still managed to add a decent amount of weight to my lift. So this program definitely did its job, and I want to go over the reason why I would recommend it to either late beginner or intermediate lifters. Let's start with an overview of the program first, and then I'll dive into each workout. The base program is 4 days per week and focuses on 2 days for the bench press and 2 days for squats and deadlifts. The 5-day version includes an overhead press day, and the 6-day version includes another day focused on either deadlifts or squats. The program starts each workout with 2 main lifts and then makes general recommendations for assistance exercises. I'm going to show the 4-day program, but my opinions apply to the 5 and 6-day versions too. The most important part of this program is how it combines high intensity and high volume. For the heavy workouts, you perform 9 sets for the exercise overall. You start with a couple of warm-up sets at 75% and 85% of your 1 rep training max. Then you do a set for as many reps as possible at 95%. Then, you have 6 back-off sets starting at 90% and dropping 5% each set until you reach 65%. The set at 65% is done for as many reps as possible. For the high volume workouts, you do 8 sets overall. You start with a couple of light warm-up sets, and then you have 6 sets at a moderate intensity. For the first 3 working sets, you do 3 reps, 5 reps, and 7 reps. For the next 3 working sets, you do 4 reps, 6 reps, and 8 reps. After the main lifts, the program also suggests how to structure your assistance exercises. Assistance exercises should be done for bodybuilding, sets, and reps. Now, I will get into each individual workout. The first day focuses on high volume bench pressing. There are 9 sets for the bench overall. You start with a couple of easier sets at 65% and 75% of your training max, and work your way up to 3 sets of 4 reps at 85%. Then you have 3 sets where you back off 5% and add a rep. Then you get to a set of 65% of your training max, where you perform a set for as many reps as possible. After the bench press, you have 8 sets of overhead press. This follows the high volume scheme, where you start with a couple of easier sets at 50% and 60% of your training max, and then you have 6 sets at 70%. Afterward, you do assistance work for chest, arms, and back. The second day focuses on heavy squats. The squats follow the high intensity scheme I mentioned before, with a couple of warm-up sets, followed by a set at 95% for as many reps as possible. Then, there are 6 back-off sets, with the last set also being done for as many reps as possible. After squats, you move on to 8 sets of your non-competition deadlift. So, if you usually pull conventionally, for this exercise, you will pull sumo and vice versa. This follows the high volume scheme I mentioned in the program summary, with a couple of light warm-up sets followed by 6 sets at a moderate intensity. Afterward, you do assistance work for your legs and abs. The third day focuses on heavy bench pressing. Following the high intensity scheme, you have 9 sets overall. You start with your warm-up sets, work your way up to a heavy AMRAP set at 95%, and then do 6 back-off sets, with the last one being another AMRAP set. After the regular bench press, move on to the close grip bench press. This follows the high volume scheme with a couple of light warm-up sets, followed by 6 sets at a moderate intensity. Afterward, you do assistance work for your arms and any other body parts you want. I highly recommend targeting weak body parts to improve your physique or your strength on the main lifts. If you're interested in a guide on sticking points in the main lifts, let me know in the comments below. Moving on, the 4th day focuses on heavy deadlifts. Following the high intensity scheme, you have 9 sets overall. You start with your warm-up sets, work your way up to a heavy AMRAP set at 95%, and then do 6 back-off sets, with the last one being another AMRAP set. Afterward, you have front squats, and following the high volume scheme, you start with a couple of warm-up sets and 6 sets with moderate intensity. Afterward, you do assistance exercises for your back and abs. Now that we have the program out of the way, I want to talk about the exercise selection. The exercise selection revolves around improving strength on the powerlifting movements, aka the squat, bench, and deadlift. The 5 and 6 day versions also let you focus on overhead press strength. All of the secondary exercises in this program are targeted towards improving your strength on these lifts. Therefore, these exercises are very specific, and they are close variations of the main movements. These primary and secondary exercises are compound movements that focus on recruiting as much muscle as possible. And while this is good for overall strength and size development, more direct isolation work is required for a well-rounded physique. For example, without adding exercises to this program, you will completely neglect your biceps and upper back muscles. But other than the primary and secondary movements, the program only provides suggestions on the structure for assistance work. This means that the assistance exercises are up to you, which can be a good or bad thing. If you're a beginner, it can be a daunting task to choose good assistance exercises. On the other hand, if you're an experienced lifter, then you know what exercises work for you. Overall, I think the exercise selection is great for the goal of the program, which is to improve strength on the main lifts. The downside is that beginners may struggle with programming their own assistance exercises, and there may not be enough time in your workout to fit in all of the isolation movements that you want. The next thing I want to talk about is the volume. I'll only talk about the volume for the primary and secondary lifts since the assistance work is left up to you. Let's take the pressing volume and use it as an example. You have 18 sets of the standard bench press with 8 sets of the close grip bench press and 8 sets of the overhead press. That's a whopping 34 weekly sets, which seems like a ridiculous amount of volume. But 6 of those sets are warm-up sets, and many of the other sets aren't pushed close to failure. Sets at moderate intensity but far from failure let you practice lifting technique without accumulating too much fatigue. The downside is that these sets aren't great for building muscle. But aside from those sets, there are still around 18 sets where you do push close to failure. This falls within the ideal range of 10 to 20 weekly sets for building muscle. So, overall, the program has enough volume to promote both strength and size gains without causing recovery issues. However, remember that this volume is specific to the muscle groups that are involved in the main lifts. You'll have to add volume for other muscle groups if you want a balanced physique. Another feature of this program that I want to talk about is its frequency. From a hypertrophy perspective, this program's frequency is great because you work each muscle group twice per week. From a strength perspective, you also get to work on your main movement patterns twice per week with a competition lift on one day and a close variation on another. In the 4-day version, you also have at least 2 days of rest between working the same muscle group. Studies have shown muscle protein synthesis to be elevated for up to 48 hours after training, and this schedule allows you to maximize muscle protein synthesis while getting enough rest. The 5 and 6-day versions only give you 1 day of rest between working the same muscle groups again, so managing volume and intensity becomes more important. Finally, I want to talk about how to progress from workout to workout. Each week, you increase your training max for each exercise based on how many reps you get on your set at 95%. For 0 to 1 reps, do not increase your training max. For 2 to 3 reps, increase your training max by 5 pounds. For 4 to 5 reps, increase your training max by 5 to 10 pounds. And for more than 5 reps, increase your training max by 10 to 15 pounds. The option to add more than 5 pounds is great for people who underestimated their training max when they started the program. And adding weight every week is great for beginners and early intermediates, but you'll likely stall after a few months. But this program will help you make the most out of your linear progression gains before you move on to a more advanced progression scheme. Overall, I think this program is great for late beginner and early intermediate lifters that want to focus on strength in the squat, bench, and deadlift. Compared to a program like full or push-pull legs, you invest much more time into the main lifts and their close variations. You also get good frequency and train each movement pattern at least twice per week. The progression scheme is also good for quickly increasing your strength, especially if you have not focused on the powerlifting movements before. There are a few downsides to the program, especially for people that aren't late beginners or early intermediates. One downside is that the program isn't very time efficient for hypertrophy training, but if you are looking to focus on hypertrophy, then this might not be the program for you. Another problem is that complete beginners may have trouble choosing assistance exercises. Additionally, late intermediates may struggle with adding weights every week. Also, 17 sets in a row on the bench press may make you look like an asshole. However, if you think you still have a lot of linear progression gains to make, and you know you want to focus on strength, this is an amazing program for you. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any lifting programs you would like me to review, leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel.